everyone, and welcome to our first part of the Viper TOS build. Working on the original Colonial Viper from the original Battlestar Galactica series. This is an iconic ship for me as a kid. I had this as a toy. I had the original TOS Cylon Raider toy too, where the things popped out and you had the little darts that you'd hit the little buttons that were hidden in the little trench. I had that. So this is kind of iconic little ship. And I figured this is the last one to finish up the TOS model kits that I have. The Cylon base, which I have still not finished that series. I did start puttying up all I have to do is putty up those little seams where the two halves came together. In the trenches where the Raiders come out. The only bummer about this kit is, this is their rear engines. And there's no way to light those. You couldn't even, drill things out, Other than that, it's a nice looking piece. The detail back here looks good, especially for 1978. Well, it still says 1978 Universal Studios in it, so that's probably the licensing. I think this is when Revell bought them out. My other 2 or 3 kits, the Raider, the Galactica, and the Batttlestar are all the original releases. This was one when Revell bought the rights to Monogram. So, but yeah, I did get some upgrades for this. This is a 3D printed, and very well 3D printed. That's barely any build lines there. And then you got the neural parts, so you really don't see it. But yeah, all these parts are really clean, so these are really clean. And this is from Shapeway, but of course there's people who put their files on there for Shapeway to print for customers. But Shapeway's got some nice printers, because that's really nice. But this gives you nicer detail. I mean, there's some parts in here I actually like better. I like how that looks a little better on the original. But I don't know which one's more accurate. But the nice thing about this gives us the ability to light. So it's more accurate as how these exhaust ports are. And then I guess I could probably just stick a 5mm LED in those holes. I'll probably sit them back. I don't know. I'll have to see how I shine. Because I would want some of this. I'm afraid if I stick the LED in the hole itself, it won't glow all this outer part. We'll have to see how that looks. It might still just be bright enough, especially if I cut the dome off, that, it'll work. So that's the replacement on there. But as you can see, it's a hair thicker. So it pretty much lines up. If you take it to one of these guys, it would be this way. It lines up where these want to go in, but this piece here on the kit has to be made skinnier because these are bigger in diameter compared to this. That would normally go like that. And I believe she's lining up as far as making those circles go in the insides. This part's here are lining up to go in there. It's just this is too thick because they have more spacing here. You can see the difference, how much this is wider, because the diameters of these are smaller. So I just got to file these a little bit and just keep testing until it fits down in. Already went through and did some light blocking in areas it needs. See some of those. I also got, anybody familiar with this kit, the canopy that comes with this is just a solid piece of plastic. Let's see if I can grab it so I can show you. Yeah, this is what they gave you. No clear part, no nothing, no rivet detail on the outer edge. And then they gave you decals to blacken the windows out. Or you could paint it, but they did give you decals to blacken that all out. But I went and got the 3D printed part. This gives you a nice non-windowed canopy with all the rivets on it. Because that's kind of iconic, you know. There's a lot of scenes where you see them flying and you see pretty much the quick little outside the window look, and you always see all those rivets when you see them talking inside the ship. And then this is the back part, so that represents all that. And what a difference. A lot wider up here on top too, which is more accurate compared to this really tight, skinny. Very, yeah, even your front window that you're really supposed to look out, it's like really skinny, like a little bar, where this gets, it's a lot more wider, and it'll be able to open. It looks like you have to supply your own pin. It's just a pin you got to put in there. You could use probably a piece of plastic if you want to, but I'll probably just take a piece of a metal pin and stick it in there. And that way we can open the canopy when we want to. And this here is just the headrest to the seat. And here's the cockpit, because one of the first things I got to get done, and I already did this off camera. It's all painted up. It's all painted up, and also I added from the EVA pod the backlit panels that for your displays. I just cut little ones, and it has little graphics on it, and cut them on and just glued them to the back here after I hit the whole thing with a black light blocking coat. So I used it there, and then I used all those parts. And in here from the decal set that came with the EVA pod, they had a nice looking targeting kind of decal, which didn't come with the backlit pack, or I might have used it. I don't think I did though. Not something like that. But yeah, so I used that. So I always keep my old decals. You can use them for something else. I used that and then glued that, and I kept the decal on the paper. Now the cool thing is the paper is blue, and then when no lights are shining through it, the grid on that screen is white. But when you blast it through the light, the blue paper that's the decals on makes it look blue. So that's kind of neat. Kind of like a car, you know, when the car's off and your speedometer and RPM, you know, is there, it kind of be white, but then when you click on, turn on the car and interior lights come on, it has that bluish green light and everything looks, so it kind of gives you that old effect. But that came out nice. I just used a galvanized tin and some of the copper colors, you know, the bronze and the copper and the rose gold. Now I just have to go back and just dab a little bit of transparent paints for what buttons I want colored. You just dab them on the back just like you would on photo etch. It'll fill the hole. I did put a window maker in them. Especially I put window maker over those in those monitors where I have the decals. So it just gives the a shine, so it looks like a screen is over top of the decals, and it gets rid of that depth look where it looked like the decals were set way back. And then I did it even on the main screen, and that gives it that glassy, because now everything else is a satin, and then that monitor's it's got a shine to it, like glass. And on the main one, I also took my chrome pen around the edge and hit it to give it like it has like a chrome trim around the monitor. So that should come out really good. You hold it up to the light. I don't know if I can get that to work. Over here. No, I don't think so. It's hard to get the angle of the light towards the camera without blasting the camera with the light. But we'll do a light test once we get this in, which is what I think we're going to start working on right now. Oh, and the other 3D print is I got a nice pilot with that crazy helmet that they have. So he's made to fit in there, so that's great. So we'll have a pilot. Yeah, that's where we're at on this. But yeah, we're pretty much at this stage where we gotta get this together, but we couldn't get this together until we built our interior. But Now where we're at is we got to add lighting to these before we close them up, and then we'll just have a wire coming through, because then that just eventually plugs into the back of all this somehow. I think that goes like that. Oh, still not sure what that hole there's for. The stand goes in that little thing there, which we're gonna close up and put a hole in for a rod. I wanted to sit off the base a little bit. And if it was a static model, no lighting, I wouldn't worry about it. It's kind of neat how that works, but we're gonna run light. But I'm still not sure what that is, because this, I don't think, or will it come all the way up that far? No, it can't go all the way up that far. Maybe it does, I don't know. I'm not sure what that hole's there for. Yeah, that's basically the way she's going to sit. But we got to get some light down in here, and then figure out how I'm going to get light blasting at the front here. I'm thinking about just taking a piece of styrene and just folding it like that and having it come up like that. So it's low, it'll hit those and then hit those displays pretty good. But I probably want to get it back here a little bit so it can wash everything. Oh yeah, and then we got to deal with light leaks. Probably. A lot of them I don't think you'll see. So we'll have to do that. But yeah, that could be an issue. There's no way to get in there and light block. We're going to have to make a good tight seam there. That's going to be fun. But that's where we're at. I'm going to start mapping out some lighting on here. I think it's going to come in. This comes right back to there, doesn't it? Yeah. So we're just going to run a strip there. Figure out how far it goes up. Go right to about where that, about to halfway of this, and then up front here we'll hit one in the front, and I'll just use strip lighting. Now I'm not sure if I want to use a warm white, because a lot of times warm white works better shining through decals, because the cool white sometimes will want to wash out the color, or the warm white kind of enhances it sometimes. And for any of the buttons I'm going to leave clear so they look like white light. I think will look better in the end, you know, the warm white, to give it that old incandescent bulb look. Yeah, because I don't know if they ever lit their models besides the back ends. You know, another cool thing about the Battlestar Galactica series is this is all ILM's work. After Star Wars, that John Dykstra got involved in to keep a lot of the guys still there, that he wanted to make sure he didn't want to lose for the next Star Wars. And yeah, so they started doing Battlestar Galactica through Dykstra's company called Apogee, I think. But that's where we're at. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm just doing that little strip lighting in here, and we'll get the cockpit glued in. And then I can glue these two halves, and that's like the biggest part to the kit. The engines back here are going to be really simple, 3 LEDs flickering. And we're going to go with white, and then I'll paint some blue around the edge to give a little tint of blue. But most of these old ones were, even the Cylon Raider and everything, were pretty much a white light. Even Star Wars, to be honest. The Falcon was in the original New Hope. I remember taking off from Tatooine when they were escaping, when they picked up Luke and Obi-Wan. Yeah, that Falcon engine lights were white. The X-Wings were red, that reddish orange, and the TIE Fighters were red, but the Falcon, that with all those big halogen bulbs, it was white. I think even the Blockade Runner, I believe, was even white. They might have used warm, warmer lights. And it might have been off yellow, but. Well, hello everybody and welcome back. It's been a while. As far as doing an update on this. But I've been trucking away. I've also been working on this little Bandai Star Blazer kits. This is the one that comes with 5 of the Andromeda class kits, and it gives you two with the aircraft carrier part and then 2 with the regular bridge. But they're pretty much the same ship except for the aircraft carriers parts. The 3 of them are, the regular battleships. They're pretty neat. I got 3 of the battleships started. Got to do the decals. Yeah, they came out pretty nice. Yeah, I just got to do the decals on them. These 2 are pretty much painted up exact, except for this one's going to have the white stripe going down the side here. Or one of them, it doesn't matter because they're exactly the same. But that'll have one, and then I'll have another gray one that'll have the aircraft carrier part, and then I'll have a blue one like this with the aircraft carrier part. But it'll pretty much look like that. And they're really shiny right now because I got them with just a satin on them, but painted all up inside here where it gets red. That came out good, and you can kind of see a little bit of the blue still. Yeah, I'm very happy with them. These are just little small ones that give you all the different ships in this class. And then they give you like this blue stand that you can sit them all on. And you actually have clips so you can extend them. I don't know if they have more kits of certain class ships that's what they were doing. Just try to remember where I left off because I started working on that and still working on the AT-AT. The only thing I got to do to that is make those little leg detail parts, those struts. I think I'm going to do that to make it more accurate. So here we have the base. I think we're just going to drill that out, cut that out, nub off, drill that out, and then we'll put one of these flat-headed rivets nuts in there to accept the post, and we'll do the same on the fighter jet. Or on the Viper. But this is, she's just dry fitted together, nothing's glued as far as the 2 main pieces. This is separate still. But it's a nice size. In the box you don't realize it until it's together that it's actually a really nice size. So we got all this built, put together, lit, cockpit's all painted up, did the decals and the monitors, and all the buttons are colored, and so yeah, that's together and glued, and I started filing some of the bad edges here, especially right here. It's gonna need more, but I think it's at a point where I can putty these seams. And try not to do so much because there's, this is an old kit, so the panel lines are raised and they're very fine. Like, I don't even expect how they thought any paint would get on here. You'd be able to paint this without those lines being hidden. It's almost like I want to go through and rescribe them and use those as guidelines, but that's a lot of work. So we'll see. But yeah, try not to lose any. Thank God there's only like a few one going across here. But if they were recessed, it's easy to put them back. Nose cone went on fine because that's a separate piece. It was a little hairy here because I wanted it looking really good up here, so I really spent a lot of time making sure it was lined up here, here, and here. And push any of the ugliness down here, which I could sand. And I, just kept sanding it, and it's a little better, but we'll have to putty that. But I also like to sand the plastic before the putty it'll give it tooth, and then it just makes so much less puttying you have to do. If you actually get the surface to where it should be, and then your putty's only spending time filling the actual seam instead of having to blend. But she looks good. So we'll mask this whole cockpit area up and then start hitting her with some white. I'm going to have to extend these wires a little bit to get through here. The fans in here I painted a gunmetal from Folk Arts. So that's Folk Arts gunmetal I used. I use that a lot. And pre-painted those and stuck them in there, so I figured if they get a little bit of a whitewash on them, it's not a big deal. I could probably mask in there anyway, but I don't mind if it gets a little bit of white in there. This will draw out, and will this rivet cover most of that? Yeah, pretty much. Because that's how we're going to mount that too. Someone asked me about these. These are I think quarter 20, which work great for well, here's a piece of brass. The brass fits right in there, and you can just tap this with a quarter 20, and you can just screw it in. That makes it great, and they're hollow too, so no problem with the wire going through. You know, even with the tube, you can still get plenty of wire up through there. Or, if you want to give it a tilt, I don't even thread the pipe. I just stick it so you can get a little bit of an angle. And I just epoxy it with JB Weld steel. I'll use some of the JB Weld steel, and that welds it right in there, epoxies it right in there. But yeah, I think I found them on eBay for real cheap for 100 count. I got like a whole whole tray of them. And then just went and bought a cheap tap set to tap these. So yeah, then glued those fins to that. Those fins onto this intake parts, and then glue that on there. That fit pretty well, except for here I did have to put a clamp here to squish that together, but that went together fine now. These here, because this 3D printed part is a little thicker, the actual engine parts, in order to get it slide over, the holes line up fine. Like the insides here will line up on these notches where it plugs in. So like if you go like that, it'll line up, and you can pop them in. But I still have to grind this. You had to grind those down. As you can see, this one's a lot smaller on this side, and I gotta do these the same. Let's see if I can get this side to pop in. It's good that it's fitting snug. It was very well designed, whoever did it. But I think it's not wanting to yet, because the other side, it wants to go in even. Yeah, especially now that everything's lined up, it wants to go in even. So I gotta trim that a little more. It should fit down in like that. It's fitting that good down in here, but I did have to trim these edges here. Yeah, those edges here had to get trimmed because they were real long, and they were burying into the bottom of these here when they fit. It was burying into this part and this part. So all those you just kind of file and fit. I did it while it wasn't together. Just took the bottom part and just kept sliding that on until it wanted to snap in, which you can see it will. It's just we got something going on. I had all this pretty much snapped in there one time. Yeah, we got something going on with this. See how it keeps bending out, and that's throwing everything twisted. So we'll fix all that. And it might need a little filing here and here now that it's all together and everything's getting tight. Then the engine lights, I think I'm just going to glue them in there. I'm not going to press them in deep. I want a little bit of it at the back to stick out so it lights a little bit back here. And then I'm going to use the older one of these engine parts and trace out a piece of styrene to see if I can get that slid in there to light block, and also it'll bounce the light back out the engines. But then when you got this in here, you won't still be able to see inside the ship, and we can paint that silver, and I think that'll work good. And it'll light block so we don't have lights coming out of here, out of the front part, especially this top one, because that fin's way up. These other two pretty much cover the intake hole, but this one down here is a little longer, if you can see. I don't know if you can see, that one's a little longer than these. I don't know if you can see those bells in there, the intake fins. But yeah, they got the dorsal on, and that's pretty much where we're at. We'll drill that. I'm gonna have to extend these because I think they'll only make it right to there. I need to be able to work on it and then tuck it in. But I'll have to drill a hole here for them to come through, because where that comes in, it slots over top of that. It's like a T in there. You can see it. Yep, there's a little T in there. And then that notches goes into the T. So we'll just drill a hole in the center where it all crisscross, where the cross point is, and that should allow that all to sneak back through. And then that's how that gets glued, huh? There, and then the bottom. And we probably have some cleaning up to do there. Yeah, we gotta clean that tab. That'll probably allow it to go back further. Yep. And this is definitely longer because that's the way that cockpit, the canopy piece slides in there. But she's looking good. Yeah, so like I said, we'll trace this piece and put a piece of styrene in there, and that'll solve all that. And then we'll poke a hole through to get the wires going through. Now that's the other thing. How do I hide the wires? Or do I just put that styrene in there and then put the lights in the styrene? But like I said, if I trace it with this, I can mark the center points for those, for the engines. So that's probably how we'll do it. But that's where we're at. But I guess we can get this. Let's see if we can get these rivets in. This part we're going to have to cut off. I don't know if I can actually chop like this. I wonder if I should drill a hole up through first. Yeah, 3/8 will work. Thought so. 3/8 is a hair bigger. Okay. Let's try drilling into this first. This is going to be fun. Yeah, see, I knew it would blow that out. But all this is going to get puttied anyway. And I think most... There we go. Now I can clip that off. Sand it. Boy, what a mess for one tiny hole. But yeah, that'll work, so we'll... Oh yeah, very easier to... Get close with that. There we go. A little 320. Like I said, we're going to paint all that and putty any bad spots. And this will give us the best. Oh, it hides all the boogery stuff. So that'll work. That works great. And then we'll epoxy the heck out of it down here. That gives you a good, stable thing for your rod to go into. Now let's try it in this one. But yeah, that used to just sit on there, which is a genius design, so you could pick the model up off the stand. But I'm gonna have her sit up a little bit. You know, I want her to be like about that high, instead of it sitting down like that. It's a little low for me. Just not too high, just a little higher. And you can see underneath the ship and stuff. But for you being able to take it on and off the model, that was a brilliant design there back in the day. Compared to some old stands, they're like, really? You want this thing to sit on there and it's going woo 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 like a bobblehead? Like the Batttlestar, the Cylon Batttlestar, that big saucery thing, and it's on this little base with a little, oh my god, it would even hold it. Alright, so let's drill into this. There we go. And let's see how this one looks. We'll probably have some putty on this side. Oh no, that's great. That's great. Fits right in the trenches there too. So that'll work great. And that's how, you know, that's what those rivets make it so wonderful. So if you're looking for, you know, and this works for the regular brass tubing that you get at your local hobby store or Michael's or Hobby Lobbies, which is the 1/4 inch. I always lock that. Which is the 1/4 inch brass tubing. And then that's what it. You won't be able to see it because I won't be able to get the light in there. But yeah, there it is, poking through on the inside. That's perfect. Like I said, it's already hollow. It's like almost made for these. It's a great little thing, and you just find them. You can find them at your local hardware store too. It's nothing new. A lot of times you'll see these pressed in wood, And then that way you can have a screw, like say this would be the wall of a shelf, and then you can, then these usually recess, like when you buy that prefabricated, you know, furniture, you'll have these that are already either installed, or you press them in, and then, you know, you screw a hex head bolt to screw your shelving or furniture together. That's all that's for, because it has the knurl to grab on the stuff, so it won't twist when you thread. Alright, so we killed those two, and that's basically where I wanted, because now we're at the point of just puttying and sanding. This will be easy because I can just paint this just like this. There's nothing going to be in the way. I got to file this one because it's a little too thick, and get that engine to fit in there well. This is going to get painted in gunmetal, and then I'm going to mist it with the white, kind of like what I did with the Cylon Raider. This I'm not sure what color I'm going to do yet. Some type of metallic. Maybe that nickel or that tin. Galvanized tin. Like I did this, I think I did the Cylon Raider and that. It's a dark silver. It's not a bright silver. Kind of pewterishy looking. That way it looks cool. And then I don't know if I'm going to put it on a wooden base. Probably so, because I need some way to put a jack. And I can just run a positive and negative once I mount this on the wooden base, which is going to be fun because it's only got little pointy feet. I could always drill little holes and have them sit into it, and then drill a hole up for the positive and negative, run it on the inside here, and then I might even cut this. Gotta be careful because I need, well, yeah, the threads is where, or drill a hole, you know, because that way I don't want the wires being able to be seen. Or I could even put a complete bottom on here, at least on this triangle part, and it'll hide the wires. I bet you I could. Is that lower than the sides? Yeah, it is. Just. But that's where I'm at. I just wanted to show you that quick little update where it is. Everything's pretty much assembled. The guns or anything that have to go on there. But this makes this easy to paint. I can just stuff some towels in there. Really, at this point, it doesn't even matter, even if I have, because there's no wiring even going to be hanging out there. Because I'm going to paint this as separate. This will be separate, and we'll put on last. And this will be, I think, easier. I don't think it'll be... I could glue this on and do it that way, but I don't know if that's the... To mask in here, mask this cockpit off, it's so much easier to get some masking tape, and I can probably stick it to the bottom here and stuff this with paper towel, and then I gotta be careful with this headrest. I gotta get a little tulip in there to light block that back corners on each side of the headrest. I could always take this off. It'll snap off. It's just super glued, 3D printed part. But in order to get the alignment, I needed it on there. But I can mask over that because I can keep the mask down between the slots there. So I think I'd rather paint these separate. It's just easier, and then glue them together later. And that can be a seam. And it'll be a nice tight seam because it's just flat plastic on flat plastic. So it'll be easy to hide that and then touch up any areas I have to. But it'll be easy to paint this like that. Guns will be painted separately, so we'll install those last. So she's just about there. But just show you a quick little update.